Hello, everyone, and welcome to Deep3. Today's guest is Marius Williams, head trainer and co-owner of Hoopdrillz. Welcome, Marius.
What up? What's good?
I'm
Thanks
Marius,
for
man.
having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah, how you doing? How you holding up?
As best as possible, to staying positive and optimistic, and I wait to get back in the gym and just be a part of the community that we have built so far.
Yeah, I think that's for all basketball junkies like us. That's the main thing. Can't wait to get back in the gym. That's what everybody says, right? So, for those that don't know you, can you talk to us about your background, high school, college, and all that you've done?
Yeah, for sure. So I went to Belleville High School in Michigan. It's been a perennial powerhouse in basketball for probably like the last 25 years. Um, I was able to play varsity 2 years there. Had a incredibly good record. I think we might have lost 11 games in the 2 years that I played varsity. Um, then from there, I received a full scholarship to Arkansas Monticello, considered a Division two school. I happened to my freshman year, midway through, I happened to injure my knee, which set me out. I have a background in a lot of therapy and like just that mental aspect of getting over an injury and then getting back to something that the game that we love. My sophomore year was a big step for me, just mentally getting over that injury hump, and the biggest thing with that was I really learned how to grind and like actually develop my game on a mental aspect because my speed and quickness kind of diminished just a little bit with my knee injury. So I had to think about a lot more things and be more decisive with my movements and stuff like that, try to get to spots a little bit quicker. So that kind of helped me propel into the trainer game later, which I didn't even know. But so that after my sophomore year, I ended up transferring to Concordia. I really credit. I have two teammates, Deron Brown and Ray Wright. They were going to play professionally overseas. They were seniors that year that I was going to be a junior. So in the time that they were getting their bodies ready for an overseas grind that they were about to embark in, I happened to hop into all of their workouts in the morning time, in the afternoon, and at night. So that also helped, like just a lot of development and just picking their brains on what type of moves. And it was really good because Duran was a point guard that we worked out every single day, and then Ray was a big. So I got to learn a lot of big man footwork and just kind of translated that and related that back into just a guard mentality and things like that. So then after that, I transferred to Concordia. My 2 years at Concordia scored uh, 1,022 points in 2 years. Was third team All America, all WAC, all conference, all region in those 2 years. So had a pretty good career. Then after that, I ended up, I needed a year. So as I transferred, I lost some credit school wise. So I needed a year to get my degree. So in that year, I became a student assistant coach. So that's where really the development side of my player development started right there. So I had all the guards, point guards, shooting guards, small forwards. I knew our offense in and out, so I was able to like just coach them to get them to play a little bit faster what the coaches wanted, and I was able to relate messages to the younger peer group just because I had just got off from playing with them. So
Yeah, so
that
you're just basically right there, gapping that bridge between the coaching staff and the players, and also with your knowledge and with your skill level, you're able to help those kids develop faster, and also I think help the coaches understand sometimes what the players need. It's not easy, as coaches sometimes to really understand what the player, what they need, what they want, or what fits them best. Sometimes coaches have an idea and they go with it. So I think guys like that are always good in the coaching staff.
for sure, absolutely. I in actually we trying to think. I didn't join into the second semester, so that first semester they struggled guard play wise. Their bigs were holding the team afloat, but the guard play was just was not there. But when I came on that second semester, it was totally night and day. The tempo changed, the IQ level changed. The game started to get slower for a lot of the guards and things like that. So and that increased the our win percentage. And we missed the tournament. The what is that? We missed the national tournament by a game. So, but it was a great experience, and that like springboarded me into training after that. So starting to train kids, and then I met you and Jordan, and you know,
Yeah,
and all like really really good people that helped me propel my my career to the next level. Very
definitely.
very
We'll get
appreciative.
into that. We'll get into that. But before that, like you said, just when I start training with you, it's not the skill level that you offer, right? I think every trainer has a certain skill level, skill set that they bring to the table. I think a lot of it is the IQ, which you kind of mentioned earlier. So I think what you brought to the table, what you're saying at Concordia, is that you helped them understand the game, and you knew what the coaches want, and then you kind of made those kids understand what those coaches want, and what they need. And I think you've done that, at least with me, a handful of times over the years when I came back in the summers. It's like, hey, like, what do you need to work on? I'm like, I need to work on the stuff that I need to, game stuff. It doesn't help me if I just work on one-on-one skill all summer long, and then come game time and I pick and pop and come off ball screens, right? So we work on stuff that gets me right in the games, that helps me in the game, not just okay. We work on some other stuff, but also you're always aware of, always asking me at least, what do your coaches need from you? What are you? How are you going to be used next year? Yeah, I think that's a huge thing as a trainer because a lot of trainers now they don't understand. It's not just bring your own skill set and be like, hey, we're going to get you ball handling right, we'll get you shooting right. I think it's also about like, how can we help you get more minutes? How can we help you get more touches within the flow of the game, within whatever your coaches want? And I think that we've talked about that, you and I, since starting Hoopdrillz, about offering that type of training where we kind of again gap that bridge between the coaching staff and the trainers and the players, the parents. It's we're all on one team. We want the coaches to win games, but we also want the kids to get better, right? We're on the same team.
For sure, absolutely, absolutely. That's the biggest thing. You hit the nail right on the head because I mean, every trainer is going to put you through ball handling, shooting, layups, the basics. But how are you going to be used in a game situation? I mean, and not everyone's going to be blessed with the opportunity to have the ball in the hands every single possession. So it's like, okay, how can we utilize you coming off of a screen? How are you working on this? How are we going to be able to set a screen and then pop coming out of the screen? And immediately, what are your three options once you come out of this to best help your team win? And I mean, that's really the thing that I really take pride in is putting player development in players in positions to help their teams win. Because I mean, as you know, in the European game, you can score 25, 30. If you're not winning, then that contract might not look the following year. Like, I mean, it just is what it is.
Or you might get cut. So it happens.
Yeah,
I
or you
mean,
might get cut. Like, like people,
you have to
players.
win.
I mean,
You
I'm
have to
sorry,
win.
yeah,
At the end of the day,
coaches
you have to win.
want winning players. Like, so, like, and it doesn't matter how many moves you can put together, what your highlight tapes look like. Are you in position to execute in winning situations? And that's what I try to do all the time. And like you said, like our communication, and just not ours, just anyone that I train from small to pros, it's all about communication, and that's a huge thing on the basketball court. And I tell all the little kids, if they're ever blessed to go to like the Pistons games, they're ever blessed to sit close enough, what do you hear? And they all say, "Oh, like we hear nonstop talking," and that's the biggest thing in basketball. Like the teams that communicate really well win normally, and the teams that don't normally win. They may, talent
You
may
gotta
get
you gotta
them,
be on the same page. You gotta be on the same
yeah,
page.
everybody's got to be on the same page. Absolutely, absolutely.
So since you brought the overseas stuff, then we'll start with the pros, right? So for me, one of the guys that I've been following the last few years a lot is Jordan Morgan, right? And I think Jordan, on top of his strength and conditioning, which I think is top of the line. He does a great job of staying in shape, staying healthy. Um, I think his skill level last few years, he kind of skyrocketed. Um, from what we've known him as, at U of M, he was an anchor defensively for Coach Beeline and on his staff. But so talk to me. How do you start working with Jordan as far as developing his game? Because I think right now he's at the next level.
Yeah, shout out to J Mo, man. Like for real, I'm definitely appreciative of him and all the things that he's done for me, training, like allowing me to train him and things like that. But again, we sat down, we had a game plan. This was maybe in 2017. He had just come back from Greece, maybe. Yeah, I want to say Greece, and he had broke his hand, and so we had 7 months to prepare for him to get to his next destination in Slovenia. And like you said, his conditioning was one element that he wanted to get down. But as far as like his skill level, he wanted to be his ultimate end goal was to be a stretch four, similar to your game. Like so he want to shoot threes. He wants to do that. But like you said, but going back to his Michigan days, I don't think like, and I watched a bunch of film. I don't think he shot a basketball over 10 feet, like throughout 4 years. So
Yeah, but right there, I think he did his job. I think he was a huge piece of that puzzle. And one thing I preach, and I like to preach, is be a star in your role. So just because he didn't do it then, he's showing it now, years later, at a whole different level, at a higher level, that he can do all that stuff. It's just a matter of the fit. Maybe if he would have went to a different school, he would have had more shots. He could have done a lot more things on the floor with a basketball. But I think that's just a matter of fit. And I think for him, that Michigan team was a good fit, and I think they showed that on the floor with their results, right? But I don't think it was just the offensive system. Yeah, I think it was for him to showcase his some of his skills.
absolutely, absolutely. But we worked tirelessly 6 days a week for that 7 month span, and in those training sessions, we broke down his shot mechanics from the bottom all the way to the top. A bunch of form shooting, a bunch of like 10 feet to 12 feet range to just to try to get his mind to concentrate on just shooting the basketball. And then once we got that development down, we also every single day we we would go through ball handling just like with what we do. We work on ball handling. Now, if you look at it, it's like, man, like I'm not going to be handling the basketball this much, but I attribute ball handling to the footwork. You're always going to have to use your feet on the basketball court. So if you can have your hands and your feet connected, then you're going to be a dangerous player. So,
Right. And okay, the game has changed a little bit now,
yep,
but let me give you an example that I haven't seen in a few years. For example, in Greece right now, right? This past year when I played in Greece, coach wanted to play post up with a lot of dribbles. It's like 5, 6 dribbles. Get as close as you can to the basket. So a little bit old school post up, right? But to me, that is not a power game. A lot of people are like, oh, it's a power game. It's a power game. No, it's a footwork, angles, and ball handling game. If you
bingo.
if you can dribble as a big like 6, 7 times in the same spot, or like try to make a short move, right? Get the defender off balance, try to gain some advantage. Yeah, then it becomes a push and shove game, right? But there's a lot of guys overseas, and a lot of especially some of the Greeks, all the Greeks that I play with or against. Um, it wasn't a strength game. There's a 7 footer in Greece that I think the San Antonio Spurs liked him. His name is Giannis Barousis. He's I think 36 right now, and he's about 7 feet, and he's not the quickest guy. But you'll see him post up, and he has an array of moves. But he used like 6, 7 dribbles, and every time I was watching him play, I was like, what's crazy? It's the ball handling. Like he handles the ball because a guard can dig at you, and if you're scared to dribble, you're gonna pick it up, right? Or if they come trap you, double team you, how are you gonna get it out? Just get rid of the ball right away, or can you handle the rock a little bit? You know, have a side dribble, pull the ball back a little bit so you can create some space so you can make those passes. So I think ball handling is necessary.
For sure, most definitely, and that's something that I was incorporating with him, and like I incorporated with you as well, and that's the thing, and like you said, piggyback on that angles. That's the biggest thing. I've always, even in my playing career, I was quick, but I wasn't super fast. But I understood angles, and this just comes back from me playing tennis as a youth and understanding angles on the tennis court. So taking those lessons in tennis and applying them back into basketball, using those angles. If I can attack your hip, I know you're gonna basically like kind of like Olay and open up because no one wants to get their hip hit. And same thing with shoulders, especially for bigs. Like naturally drop that weak spot. Just a lot of footwork, a lot of ball handling, a bunch of form shooting, and then which in turn turned into little moves. So also going back to that, like we talked about, like, okay, who do you want to model your game after? Now everybody wants to model their game after, the big three, Steph, LeBron, but like not everybody is blessed in that situation to have those skills or even be their height, their, what I'm saying, those that that stature, that build. So like we took players like Paul Millsap, um, Tobias Harris, not now because he's more like a legit three with the Sixers. But who else did we take? Al Horford, the Morris twins, like players that are, I guess, would be defined as like role players in the league, but they actually get busy and they have great footwork, things like that. So a bunch of film study on those guys, and then just taking that film study and applying it right back into the training. And like you said, putting him in game situations um, is really what helped him take that next leap. So the more repetition that you can have in game situations, the easier it's going to become when you actually play against somebody who doesn't know what you're going to do, and you have an array of moves to and counters and things like that to go and piggyback off of that. But he's done a great job of taking advantage of his opportunities, being prepared more than anything. And then with those two things, his confidence is going through the roof. So like when he steps on the court, like he feels like just seeing his confidence from 2017 till now, like he steps on the court and feels like he's going to be the best player. He knows it, he believes it because he's put in a bunch of work. So I'm super, super proud of
All right, so now that kind of figure out how you work with the pros, so you always do the game plan, which you've done with me, clear done with Jordan and everybody else, I think. Then you kind of what I like, and I've done it for the past few years too, is just kind of see what players fit your style, they fit your role, and then kind of steal some of their game if you can, right? And then you get down and and you work on that. So now that you do this with the pros, what's your approach? I know we have some top level collegiate players that train with you. I know you have some really good high school players, and same, you coach all the way to basically beginners, to 6, 7 year olds, right? My son loves training with you, right?
it for sure.
So, uh, right there, then how do you apply all of that? You take it less, from the pros and you kind of bring it all the way down. How do you apply all this to certain ages? Because you have to kind of mold yourself to the player, to the age, to the skill set, and to their mental. How how aggressive or how much they love the game.
For sure. So like going like for the younger kids, like I break them up in two categories. The younger kids who obviously they may have some like love of the game or some passion for the game of basketball, and might have picked up some good habits in the driveway and things like that, and are pretty talented. Just taking their game and just slow walking them through the basic footwork, cross steps, jabs, pivot, rips, and then building that in.
Fundamentals,
Yeah,
fundamentals.
super
It's, it's,
fundamentals, super
it's
fundamentals. Yeah, you have to have your fundamental base there, and then we can start building upon that. Because if you don't have a base, and no knock on anyone that is jumping into the trainer game, but like if you just start, anyone can just start off people with crossing over, going between the legs, going behind the back, but eventually they're gonna run into, why am I doing this? What purpose does this serve? Like, yeah, you can do it, but why do I do it? When do I do it? But if you don't have that fundamental base, you won't understand, like, okay, if I rip and I have this person on my hip, there's no need for me to pull the ball back and cross over. I'm just gonna go. Or I can create space with a step over, step back, anything like that. But once I get them on my hip and just understanding those basic angles, then we can build on crossing the ball over. Then we can build on step backs and things like that, that are like that next level stuff like that. But like the fundamental base, obviously your footwork has to be down. Your ability to make a right hand and a left hand layup have to be down. And these are all things that take time. Like I I mean, we're the same age, but like I don't know if you can remember back when you first started playing basketball. How long did it take you to be confident in shooting a left hand layup? Like, I mean, you're a superstar, but like,
Nah,
but I know,
actually,
like,
I don't
I,
remember, man.
yeah, for myself, like, I remember it took me like just to do it in a game, like maybe took me like 4 or 5 years, like maybe when I was like 12, like, and I had started playing basketball at 5, like to like really be confident and going in traffic and doing it like 12 years old, like, and I started playing at 5, so like a lot of the expectations of not necessarily kids, but parents that I train, or like kids with that are younger, they see like maybe their cousins or the next door neighbor or kids on their team that are like really good, and they don't see like that it takes a long time to actually develop someone's game. But I will say this: as long as they're willing to be patient with the kid, and the kid's willing to be patient with me, things have turned out very, very, very good. And it's really, really good to see, like, especially some of the kids that I've been working with for like the last like 3 4 years, like fifth, sixth grade, now going into high school or going into like seventh, eighth grade, playing for their school team and having a lot of success. And then those parents seeing like that journey, and maybe their kids, like other parents' kids, were like better than them, and now they're like, yo, like, what's going on? Like, he wasn't like this last year. Like, what, and then they're saying like, oh no, he's been working on his game twice a week or 3 times a week or once a week at, with Marius. Um, over at Hoopdrillz, so like it's really, really cool to see that type of development. And then like piggybacking off of that, going into like middle school and high school, you get to see some of the guys that are guys and girls, because girls are, I got some really, really talented middle school girls that are going into high school next year. I'm really, really excited to see their development because they were taking like really, really good leaps. And just to see them want to do more. Like, and you can see like just their hunger. Okay, yeah, I got this footwork down. What can I do off of this? What are the options? And then as they drill it, and then immediately the best thing that I like to do is, especially in group setting, is once we drill it, all right, let's play off of this. This is the only move that you can do. Now let's figure out how you can get your shot off. You can create space. You can hezzy and go. You can change direction. Now we putting all of those things into like basic. Then you can just figure out like basic finishing, hooks, different floaters, jump shots, things like that. So like that's really, really cool to see
So
that.
right
But
now, what you said so far is funny because we haven't published the first episode, and I told you I had the GM of a Romanian team. He's also a scout, right, for young kids for a Spanish team. And at some point, we're talking about getting prospects, 17, 18-year-olds to step up the pros. What he's looking for. You know, the answer is pretty simple, but the kids got to have the fundamentals down. They got to have the desire, and they got to be mentally ready to be coached, right? So this is stuff that you've been doing with these kids, right? Um, but it's funny because people think that, to, get on a pro team at 18, 19, right? Especially as a foreign kid, right? That's the path to it. when you don't have college basketball, and you're part of the academy in Europe, and 18, 19, you got to make the step up. Can you make the step up, or do you got to just kind of hang them up? Sometimes not many options for European and overseas kids. So I'm sure a lot of parents or a lot of people are like, man, it's like he needs to be this good. He needs to be, yeah, he has to be good, or she has to be good. They have to be good at that level, but they don't need to be a superstar. If they're fundamentally solid, if they do the right things, the little things, they're mentally there, they're focused at practices, and they're coachable. Coaches will help them make that step up the first team. Come at least help them practice in the beginning, right? They can see they can count them in practice because they're solid. They're fundamentally solid, and they don't make crazy mistakes. Childish mistakes. Like you said, they gotta know what they're doing. Why they're doing it, how they're doing it. So this is very important things. Not just okay. Of course, for kids in the U.S., that they have different path than the European kids. Even though lately, the really good kids, I can see they kind of skip college and go overseas one year, and they start trying to do that stuff too, right? Yeah. So then moving forward, and what's your like the high school kids? Sometimes that's a tough age, right? Because in middle school you have a lot of teams, a lot of kids playing, and then all of a sudden you go to high school, you have three teams, right? And the chances are limited. And depending on the high school, okay, we're not going to bring out here, the powerhouse, the national powerhouses, but every high school, they get a lot of kids coming in. You think as a freshman, it's like, oh, I'm pretty good, and then you kind of get around, you see a junior, senior. It's different. It's a different story as far as strength, speed, and you know quality as far as ball handling, shooting, and all this stuff. So what do you do with these high school kids that kind of make this transition? It could be eighth grade, towards nine, or even ninth towards 10. When they kind of try to make the JV team, or eighth, and they try to make the freshman team, or whatever it is. What's your approach with these kids? Is it similar to pros, or is it a little bit a little bit different?
It is similar to pros. Being able to be around like the high school scene, knowing the offenses and the defenses that are required at like the varsity level for some of these high schools is definitely a question that I ask. And if like a player that's going into high school doesn't know, then normally I've had a kid before him or her that knows that knows the the system. So there's an overlap in that. So really, it comes down to like half skill development and being poised and being able to take advantage of the opportunities when they come to you. And the other half is like the mental side and things that aren't like really that you can't like quantitate, but like paying attention, listening, being coach. Like these are things that are like being coachable that fall under, but and then being able to ask questions. Like those are big things because especially like with high school kids, and it kind of used to get on my nerves a little bit until I finally like just took a step back and was like, all right, what was I like in high school? Like, was I trying to like was I trying to be like cool and kind of think I knew it all a little bit? Yeah, of course. So I had to sit back and I started to actually have conversations with the boys and girls and like tell them like, look, like you're only gonna get a certain amount of mistakes to happen before like the cuts and things happen like that, which you probably don't even think are like anything. You think like, okay, all right, when trial time comes, this is my first showing. No, like you showed from maybe open gyms or a lot of these teams have like fall camps and stuff like that. What type of player you are, not skill wise, but listening, being coachable, leadership. So all of those things go into account once it's time to make these tryouts happen, stuff like that. Because it's only like 3 days, maybe tops a week. So that's really like a big thing. And I've known and I've trained kids who got cut because they weren't good listeners, or they thought they were doing a drill that the coach asked them to do, and they were doing it completely wrong. And instead of just saying, "Hey, coach, can you repeat that again?" Which is a great leadership quality, because now if you see that on the cusp that might not even got that, but now you're stepping up and being a leader and saying, "Hey, repeat that." So now he gets another opportunity to listen, things like that. So it's just a lot of little things go into that, and like for the boys side, being in shape is crucial, because it's another step up. Like in middle, especially a lot of the middle schools here, you play 5 quarters, you only get a certain amount of time you can play. Yeah, they may play AAU ball, but then again, you really don't have to be in that greater shape. But at the high school level, if you want to play, you should. And one of my coaches at Belleville used to always say, like, every person on the team needs to be ready to play 32 minutes. So if you're in good shape, then you won't make mistakes. As you know, like the better shape that you're in, the harder it is for your mind to break down when you are tired. So now those defensive lapses don't happen, and that just goes back into practice. If we can't count on you in practice, how can we count on you in a game setting? So like if you're making defensive lapses in practice, you're probably gonna do the same thing in a game. So it's just a lot of those mental sides, but really on the training, the uh, the speed. So do things faster, but also being able to slow things down and then pick back up. So like I try to get like players to understand like levels. So if 5 is your top speed, then let's try to go from 5 to 3 to maybe 4 to 2, then back to 5. If we can play with speeds at that level, then you're gonna have a lot of good success. Because even if you're super quick and you're a lightning bug and you play at 5, eventually people's eyes can kind of catch up to like, okay, all right, I can guess and see like, okay, you're gonna be here. But if you're a lightning bug and you go from 5 to 3 and then you get back to 5, it's nothing that anybody can do with that. So
That's tough to guard at any
yeah,
level, though.
that's tough. Yeah, exactly. That's tough to guard at any level. And the more we can understand the changing of speed, the more success that, especially someone going from 8th grade into ninth, is trying to take that jump. Because a lot of ninth graders aren't trying to play freshman basketball. Like when I was a freshman, I was like 5'1", 110 pounds. So like me playing JV, and like the beautiful thing about like our middle school season, I was able to practice with our JV team when I was in 8th grade. But like even then, like I was even smaller and I still was just getting crushed every single day. Defensively, offensively, just wasn't strong enough to handle the pressure. But it was cool to go up against that older competition to see like, okay, all right, these are the little tricks that I need to take with me. And then that goes back into the training side, trying to get like the younger, more talented kids to train up with guys and girls that are maybe a year or two older than them, just to see like, okay, all right, the things that I was doing against 7th graders or 8th graders not gonna be able to
Not
work.
gonna work anymore.
Yeah, yeah, it's not gonna work anymore. So I really have to pay attention to the detail of the training aspect. It's not just okay. I understand the concept of where I need to go and I get there, which you can do in middle school, but high school you have to understand like, okay, all right, I have to put my foot here. I have to change speeds at this moment. I have to get into that body. I have to do all these little things to create space and get better opportunities for myself to score and then make my teammates a little bit better too. So. But that
Yeah.
also
So
just ties back into the pro game too.
yeah, I mean, any level, I think it all it's the same. It's basketball. It just you kind of have to adjust the little things to the level, the age of the player, and all this stuff. But back to the beginning of it, like you said, we at Hoopdrillz we tried from the beginning to be different, right? We try to do things differently, and we always try to talk to coaches of the players that we have or the camps that we have, and uh, the elite camps that we try to offer, and they embody the school. Then this upcoming summer when we came up with this new idea of training camps, right, where we talked about consistency. You talk about Jordan being in the gym 6 days a week, right? And to me, I like basketball camps. They're cool. I think it's great. You go there 3 days, 2 days, whatever, and you work for 2 hours a day, and you get better, right? Uh, But like you said, it's consistency, right? So when we came up with that idea and we're talking about, well, what's Hoopdrillz going to do this summer, right? Like what are you going to do this summer with the kids? And we talked about training camp idea where um, kids can come in and work consistently, every day. Maybe it's an hour and a half, but it's a full week. It's like a week long camp that you can work with the kids on a daily basis and they can get better. And I think that's huge. That's the effort at training. It needs to be there, every single day. Because if you work out 3 days a week and then you sit at home 4 and then you work out another 3, you will get better. But I don't think at the same rate as if you work every day. Like some of your college kids, they're in there every day. They just want to get better.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, you're right. Like, and and that's a lot of just aspirations for kids and parents. Obviously, they want to get their kid to play high school varsity basketball, potentially play college basketball, and if the opportunity comes to play professionally, great too. But and a lot of kids have like NBA aspirations, WNBA aspirations. Even playing overseas is becoming more of an opportunity, like more of an aspiration for kids now, like just younger. And seeing that, like I tell them all the time, like, okay, like, yeah, I train pros as well, and they are consistent. That's the biggest thing. And it is they're doing all the things that you do. And it's crazy. Some of the kids that you train or that know you, and I tell them like, oh yeah, I've trained Vlad for the last 6 years. They're like, oh man, really? They're like, so what do you do? Like, and I'm like, we do the exact same thing. I was like, but it's consistency. We do this 6 days a week, 5 days a week, and their minds are like blown away. I was like, that's how you become better every day. I was like, now just imagine if you come once a week and you have your brother coming in 5 times a week. Who's gonna get better? And they're like, dang, my brother is. I was like, yeah, it just comes down to consistency. And like you just said, like can't train for 3 days, take 4 days off. Like you're gonna make gains, but as we know, like you're either getting better or you're getting worse. There's no staying the same. So you have more days of being worse than you are better. So when the summer ends and you go back to your team, you're worse than you were when you at the end of last season. So it's definitely a lot of sacrifice, but that end goal is so sweet. It's so sweet that you put in work, and I can't wait for this summer to see like the boys and the girls that attend these training camps to see like their progress, and even like the to it's more so like their progress is cool, but their confidence is even cooler. Like they know that they progress and they know that they're good and they know that they're becoming good. And now that they get in onto their teams or they're even challenging the people that are training with them, like, yo, let's play 1-on-1, let's play 2-on-2 or whatever it comes down to. And it's that type of confidence is really cool because a lot of the kids that come in, you can just kind of see like, yeah, they like basketball, but like just their underlying confidence just isn't there. But once they start becoming good, it's like, yeah, they got that swag is so high. It's like, yeah, come on, let's hoop. Like, so that's
Yeah.
really really dope. I can't wait, man. The bug is definitely there.
So now let's talk about the last part that I think is crucial. Right? You have a few college studs. We talked about a few of the college kids you have that can really really play, right? And some of them you worked with for quite a few years now. So what's the biggest adjustment, right? From my experience as from college to pros, there's certain adjustments or certain things you got to get used to. What are some of the biggest things that you've seen with high school seniors, that go into college? Like, what are some of the biggest or major differences that you've noticed for them, or that they kind of come back to you with? Like, hey, I'm really struggling with this. Some of this stuff, and I'm pretty sure that's across the board, right? Since I say you have some studs, or some maybe Division 3, Division NAIA kids, but it doesn't matter. I think it's all the level. Once you take the step up, it's a whole different ball game. I think people don't understand how good the NAIA level is, how good D3 basketball is. I think people kind of sleep on that. It was like, oh, D1, D2. I'm like, you kind of have to watch the game. It's like so many parents are like, oh yeah, my kid could play NAIA. My kid he can play D3. I'm like, oh really? He can play D3. I'm like, you watch the ball movement in D3, for example? You,
For sure.
it's like you talking about like, oh, my kid thinks, okay, he's a good ball handler. He can really score. He can play D3 for sure. I don't know. Like I've seen some D3 basketball where that bull just moves. There's no like one-on-one play, and there's like a lot of high IQ players who just kind of move the ball, and then every level is different, but every level is just a huge step up. So what do you do with his kids? Let's say maybe the summer before they head into freshman year. What is some of the stuff that you can do with them that maybe to make that transition easier? Other than working their butts off, because once you get to college, it's a whole different ball game.
For sure. Uh, it comes down to the first thing is having a conversation. And a conversation leads into, and from my experience, first and foremost, is that when you step onto this campus, like you are no longer the man. Like I was the man in my high school. Like the ball went through me. Like if I played well, we won. If I didn't play well, we probably were going to be in a dogfight or we lost. So understanding that 9 times out of 10, you're going to go into a situation where you're going to have to be a role player, which for a lot of people is like just the egos. Like to your ego, especially as a
Yeah,
17-year-old kid, like you're like, man, I got to be a role player. I got to come off the bench. Like, like some people are blessed in situations where they come in where a kid might have left via graduation, transfers, gone to the NBA, whatever the case may be, and now that the role is open for them to step right in and they can take their lumps and things like that. But for the other not really 95% of the kids that I've trained, and even in my own situation, when you step into that situation, it's probably going to be someone that has either been there for a year, 2 years, or even 3 years that is going to step into that starting role. And now you're going to have to pay your dues. So like, and it's not just, and it's not just about, like you said, not about like skill development and working hard. Like you have to dedicate your body to the weight room. You have to get yourself in shape. You have to eat right. Like, and I know it's tough because at 17 you can eat pizzas and burgers and like you can cram all of that and like and be good. But it takes for the next level because you're not playing 28 games anymore. Like, or no, that's if you so you're playing 28 games if you make it to the state championship game, or 26 in high school. 26 games is that's the end of the regular season, and that's not even counting from day one when you step on campus. You probably get about I know like the Division 3 kids that I have, they get like a week and a half before they start like their basketball requirement. But every other level, NAIA, D2, D1, as soon as you step on campus, you are either required to start weightlifting, start conditioning, start individual workout, uh, 5-on-5 play daily. So like those adjustments are crucial, and that's something that has to be said. Like now, I didn't know these things at all. Like going into my college career, but I quickly learned them, and then so like I just try to instill and just tell my experience to any kid that is thinking that the path that they're going on is going to be Candyland, which it can be and it will be, but it's so much work and it's a lot of mental hurdles that you have to get over more than anything, and that go beyond just can you put the ball in a hole, can you defend, and once you get over that, like every single day, your body is being demanded, and then you still have to go to school too. That's another big, it's a huge thing. You got to make sure you're eligible to play on the court. So like once those things are set, you get your mind around like the demands that your coach has for you. Um, then after that, it's all about just working your butt off, asking questions with the entire coaching staff, befriending a manager. That's a key because these are guys that are going to be opening the gym for you at 1 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning on
and who you
Saturday.
tell, man? I have at American, I gotta give a shout out to Ryan and Tiana. There are managers there, and I mean they're rebounding for me. 3 hours before tip off, I was always in the gym trying to get about 200 shots up. 7 a.m. I was there trying to get shots up. 10 p.m. at nighttime. Sometimes I was getting shots up, and they were there rebounding and passing for me all the time. So shout out them, man. I appreciate it, and they know it. From time to time I check on with them. Ryan actually went to coach. He coached a very good high school team in the area where my college was, and you know, it's important to have a good relationship with everybody. But I feel like some people sleep on that on the team manager. They're part of the team. They're not really part
Sure.
of the coaching staff. They're more part of the team with everything that goes in. And for me, they help me a lot because they're there when I need them to get better, and they help me a lot get better. Because coaches can only do so much for you, and then when you work out by yourself, it's just it's different. But when you have somebody there, kind of pushing you, rebounding you, like joke, a little joke, how like you break a few shots and they say something, they kind
No,
of they kind of motivate you,
that's
all
so
that
that's
stuff.
so key. But no, that's so key because it's once you take that, like again, like you take that next step, a new you is demanded to get better. And like you said, like you were getting 200 shots before a game, and what's the most shots you took in a game at American?
I don't know. I put them up. No, I'm just playing.
I know
Probably
myself,
about
like
19,
20,
19,
I
20, I
think I
think.
took, yeah, I think I took like 24 one time, and that's a bunch of shots. But I was I stayed in the gym, like in two, three
You
hundred.
you earn your shots. It's
Yeah,
always
for
like
sure.
that, though. I think,
You definitely do. You definitely do, and
especially
that's
in
another
college
thing.
more than anything else. You earn your shots, and same thing in college more than anywhere else. You earn everything from, like you said, day one on campus. If you whatever you do, it's a plus or minus basically. It's a plus or minus game. That a lot of these kids they don't understand, and I probably didn't understand actually. Um, Maybe that's part of why I even transferred from George Mason to American, because you kind of miss some of those things, um, those little details.
No, yeah, most definitely, and it's and it starts day one. That's the biggest thing. Like when transitioning from high school to college, high school you get some time to build it up. Like and coaches like, okay, yeah, he's got the potential, and guess what? We have him for 4 years, and so you have some time to build up some cachet. But from day one is, I remember my parents dropped me off in Arkansas, and I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna get to the gym, and this was 5 p.m. and I walked in. It was two players, Deron, shout out to Deron again. He was in the gym, and I had bumped into the janitor, and I was like, yo, like, how long has he been in here? Because he was in a full sweat, like, he got in here right before noon. I'm like, man, what? like, and so, like, he instilled, like, for me, like, I always thought I worked hard, but I'm like, dang, like, so picking his brain, he transferred from Murray State. So he stepped down, but he knew, like, that, and he told me, like, from the jump, like, these are the things that are going to get you playing time, working hard. He was like, coaches stick their head in gym all the time. Your back may be turned. They may go to the side door and look and see, like, oh, okay, he's in the gym. Like, okay, you know what I'm saying? He's working out. Like, obviously, gyms now have cameras in them. So coaches are looking like, okay, he's in the gym at this time. Oh, he got back in the gym. I'm like, okay, he really wants it, or she really wants it. Those little things make or break you. And I didn't realize those things, and that might have been one of the reasons why I ended up transferring, things like that. But I know when I got to Concordia, I wasn't, from day one. I was like, oh yeah, I'm establishing that I'm a hard worker. Like, I'm gonna put in work beforehand, after. I'm gonna go super hard in the weight room. I'm gonna get my therapy, my treatment. That's another big thing. Like, even the treatment, access that. Like, I tell kids all the time, it's like, it's there for a reason. You don't have to be Superman. Like, you're gonna get bumped and bruised like you've never been bumped and bruised before. Like, it's a step up, because you're really playing against grown men now, and you have to take care of your body. Like, you can't just say, like, all right, like back in high school, like, oh, I'll sit out this practice. Like, no, like, that's an opportunity for someone to take your spot now. So, like, you gotta be available. So, but that, I think that's that little thing, because like you said, like, I mean, if someone's getting an opportunity to play college basketball, they have a skill set, and they work hard, and they did the right things in high school to get them noticed on that scene. I know a lot of times, what I also tell kids is that gaps. So like if you spread your arms out, like you're only gonna get like in help defense. High school, you may be able to get like a step and a half. In college, it's a step now. Like that window shortens up so much. So now, like, not only do your moves have to be quicker, they just have to be more precise.
And if you play in
And
Virginia, you play UVA, then it's a no step. You got a quarter step against UVA right there.
yeah, you get like this much against them. So it's like just those little things, and then taking your mind to the next level, which I think we do a good job at Hoopdrillz of getting kids to understand. Asking them questions as well, like, you know, why did you do these things after something? Instead of like berating the kid, like, man, why, you know, that wasn't smart or whatever. Like, just asking them, like, why did you do this? Talk me through it. So now we can establish one, communication, and then two, it's like, okay, I can tell you right now why this is wrong, but tell me why you thought this was correct. And so now once we get those things established, they can now start thinking 2 and 3 plays ahead. Like, okay, all right, when I get the basketball here, instead of just putting the ball on the ground, I need to be able to look and see, like, okay, help side is coming here. So instead of just dribbling with my right hand, I can just rip. I can rip and go to the left. That'll give me an easier driving lane. And then now help side defense has to rotate. Now I can give my teammate that's in the corner a better look or a better opportunity. So just those little things, man. It's so many little details. Even though this is a game, like the little details is something that I love. That's what drives me as a trainer. Like just attention to detail, really. So.
Cool. Well, you actually brought it back to Hoopdrillz and what I wanted to close this off, but you kind of hit the nail on the head with it and kind of finished off the way it's supposed to be. You know, you talked about some of your main thing as a trainer, you know, which is definitely detail. Since I've been working out with you, you know, like we talked about, you know, working on a 1 foot fadeaway and everything has to be placed right? Where am I gonna hit my defender, you know, with my shoulder? Where's my off leg gonna be? Like how everything has to be positioned in a certain way. Or when we worked on a jab step, you know, try to steal that Carmelo jab step. Everything was, you know, where's the ball? You know, you don't just jab with your foot and your head, you know, or with shoulders. You know, where does the ball move? You know, what's your next step? You know, you always have a plan from A to B to C, you know, to get you there. If you take away the A, you're gonna have B, and then if you take B, you're gonna have C. So all the stuff they do with the kids, I think, is great, and you know, I'm fortunate to be able to, you know, be part of this with you, and I appreciate your time tonight. And you know, hopefully we stay healthy and safe, and we'll see each other soon. And I appreciate your time, man.
Man, thank you. This is my first podcast. I've been asked to get on like 4 podcasts. Like they all like spun me, so like I appreciate you, bro. Like for real. Like it's definitely a blessing working with you. Obviously for years training, and then now moving forward into Hoopdrillz. Like I'm so appreciative and grateful for you giving me the opportunity 6 years ago to now, like just giving me the opportunity to like really push myself forward. And that's something I always talk about, like iron sharpens iron, just with kids. Like, you know, you get in the group, you might not be the best player in this group, but that kid from the top is going to make you better, and you're going to push him to get a little bit better and things like that. So you definitely do that. And shout out to that fadeaway, 1-footed fadeaway. You should
we'll get some more of that. We'll get that ready for next season.
Oh yeah,
so we're good. All right, Marius, I appreciate it, man.
Always.
All right, have a good one.
Oh.